I wanted to talk to you folks about a rather interesting experience that I had today. Woke up this morning with a bout of anxiety, just a little bit. It wasn't very overwhelming, but it was noticeable. And what was noticeable about it, what was interesting about it, is that I felt like it was more of like a physical anxiety and not a mental anxiety, which doesn't exactly make sense, but that's what was kind of happening to me this morning. And what I mean by that is when I woke up, I was feeling like very shaky, very anxious, very nauseous. That's what I mean. The symptom of anxiety was feeling shaky, feeling nauseous, just sort of feeling out of it. And as the day progressed, it actually got a bit worse. So it's kind of interesting, and I was trying to reflect on what that might be. And the more that I would think about it and try to understand what was going on, the more of a mystery it was for me. I couldn't really understand why I was feeling the way that I was, especially when I was thinking about my life. My life right now is actually in a pretty good spot. I've been doing a lot of work on myself, a lot of growth, a lot of reflection, introspection, and that also has been carrying over to my work and to my friends and my relationships. And so all of that's been like really good. And so I was kind of confused. Like, why am I feeling this amount of anxiety when kind of everything in my life is going fairly well? I feel typically in the last few days, week, whatever, pretty at ease and pretty whole. So that seems like a kind of a strange place to be in and to be experiencing some anxiety. So I wanted to reflect on that a little bit, talk to you folks about it, and kind of share my experience with how it evolved today, because it got a lot better, and I'll explain why it got better. The first thing that I did was when I started to notice this happening, especially when it got worse later in the day, I reached out to a friend and asked them for some advice and kind of let it be known how I was feeling, which I don't always do. Most of the time, especially with stuff like this where it doesn't feel like life-threatening or a major problem, I tend to keep it sort of bottled up and inside and just try to deal with it on my own, which is not the healthiest of things. So I'm trying to be better at that. So I ended up reaching out to a friend. Let me grab a drink of water first. And that was really good. I think that was really good on two different aspects. One, it was really good to get my feelings out there and share them with somebody, and rather than just keeping them bottled up inside. And then, of course, reaching out to somebody that's caring, they were able to share with me some good advice, some good techniques, some good ideas to help me cope with how I was feeling. And that kind of turned into the second piece of what I did today. They expressed that maybe it would be good to do some meditation or just take a moment and breathe. And I took that advice to heart and took a moment, took a break from work and sat down, put on Headspace, did some meditation, 15-minute session, something real simple. And that really helped. I could feel sort of my inside shakiness really settle down, which was amazing. And I felt a bit more grounded, a bit more connected. And I was able to sort of pause from this sort of anxiety, the physical feeling that I was having. It didn't go away completely. So then I took another step, which is something that I do from time to time, and I did some journaling. And I find that to be really important. And I've noticed over the months, year or so of kind of doing journaling, it's really powerful. I never was really a writer before, and so this was sort of a new endeavor for me about a year ago. And I find that when I take the time to sort of sit down and reflect on, especially on how I'm feeling, that's why I started journaling, was to be a little bit better at expressing my feelings. So when I took that time today and I sat down and I just started writing down how I was feeling currently, some of the stuff that happened yesterday, just sort of reflecting on the last few hours, 24 hours or so, all of a sudden I started to see a few things that I would say sort of my psyche was working on, and perhaps I wasn't aware. And maybe what was happening was my psyche was working on these things, and I was getting sort of the physical manifestation of my psyche, my inner self doing that work. That's kind of how I started to feel about it, and it started to kind of click and make sense. And what was almost magical is as I'm writing these words down, these feelings down, and kind of understanding myself a little bit better, the anxiety, the shakiness, the nausea, all that stuff just faded away. And the rest of the day, this was probably maybe 4 or 5 hours ago. So the rest of the day, I felt pretty good. Felt back to feeling confident, feeling whole, and not really having these sort of physical feelings that I was having when I woke up this morning. So kind of interesting. Thought I would share that with you folks. A little bit of reflection on how my day went today. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if you've had something similar. What were some of the techniques you used? All right, until next time. Peace.